So I'm Katherine, I work for the Evangelical Alliance and I live in a place called Sidcup, which is in southeast London, and I'm married to a guy called John. And the first time I sort of heard about church and faith and Jesus was actually through my girlfriend. So as a teenager, I got into my first relationship and that was with a girl. And she was raised a Christian. At the time, I didn't really care what Christians thought. I sort of view Christians as, they're just a bit stupid. Like, they're taking things out of context and they're just using the Bible to sort of oppress a group of people. And, within time, I'm sure Christianity will progress to a place where this is all fine, we can get on and love whoever we want. I'm sure it will get to that place. And I was just so happy to be in this relationship with this girl. Fast forward, I'm then at drama school, and I loved being at drama school because it was such a liberal environment. I felt like I'd found my people, my group. Everyone sort of had similar stories to me, stories of struggling with their sexuality, stories of coming out, and then sort of getting into drama school and being around, lots of people that had those stories was great. But at the same time, I felt like I'd worked my whole life to this moment, and I had put all of my joy in this. This is the moment I'm going to feel fulfilled in life. This is the moment I'm going to feel happy because I've always wanted to be at drama school. And when I didn't feel that joy and didn't feel that happiness, I was really shocked. I was like, what? This doesn't make sense. This was the thing, and this thing hasn't fulfilled. It hasn't sort of kept up its side of the bargain. I thought this was it, and it just wasn't. And my relationship ended. I was really heartbroken. And so I was struggling with heartbreak, with feelings of meaningless. And then I had a friend die who was also a Christian. And so I'm grieving, I'm heartbroken, there's an existential crisis going on. What am I going to do with my life? And so I asked God for the thing that I wanted most at that time, which was joy. I just wanted a break from my heartbreak, from my grief. And so I said, God, if you're real, I just want to feel joy. Just want to break from this grief. And in that moment, I just felt this rush of joy. I just started laughing. And I tried to convince myself that I had made it up. And I was like, oh, that can't be real. Maybe I just manufactured this feeling. But I couldn't deny something had shifted deep within me. And it wasn't just a momentary happiness. It really was this just deep sense of joy and this feeling of just, I'm loved. And then fast forward, I then get into a class, one of my uni lectures, and a student walks across the room. I'd never spoken to her before. If I'm honest, I found her really annoying because she was super smiley and she had the same name as me. That says a lot about me. And she came up to me and she said, I prayed this morning and I asked God who I should invite to church, and you popped into my mind. So I went along to church with her and found this wonderful community of believers and just felt so at home. But at the same time, I was so aware that so much in my life just wasn't in line with the teaching of the church, wasn't in line with what then I was reading in the Bible, and wasn't really the way that the other believers I was around was living. I was living super differently, and I thought, this is a real challenge moment. This is really hard. Jesus made it clear there's a call to go and sin no more. And so then there was a moment of decision for me. What does this mean for my life? And when it comes to sexuality, am I going to follow Jesus, experiencing his love, his forgiveness, his acceptance, receiving my identity from God? Am I going to go his way? And am I going to turn away from some of the things that I'd been doing, not just related to sexuality, but all sorts of things? Or am I going to go back to how I was living and actually walk away from that love and joy and forgiveness that I'd experienced? And I just came to a moment where I was like, Jesus is so much better than any sort of temporary thing, any temporary relationship, any sort of pleasure or experience or sort of, anything that I'd experienced. Jesus's love was just so much better and deeper than that. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to live this way. There was still a shame that I experienced because I thought, you know what, if anyone knows this part of my life, if anyone knows this part of my experience, they're going to think I'm so weird, that I'm so strange. I'm going to lose friendships over this. People are going to look at me differently. And so I felt like, you know what, I can't actually bring this part of myself to people and to the church. And that was a real barrier in my life for a long time. And I've experienced just a new level of freedom in sharing with people my full story, the fullness of my experience. And actually, people have shown me that the church is such a loving and warm place for everyone, no matter what their attractions or desires. This isn't wow, the wonderful part of my story is God's given me a husband. Far from it. The wonderful part of my story is that I'm in relationship with Jesus, that I know him. Now, whatever that could have looked like in my life, whether I had been single forever or like I am now, I've got married. The main part of my story is I know Jesus. I've experienced his love. I've experienced intimacy through him, relationship with God. And that's the most important part of my story. And I long just to live totally in submission to him, to his way, because I really believe that his way is the way that leads to life, and life in all its fullness.